The Manuscript of Survival, Part 401. February 28, 2014. A long time ago, mankind came to these shores for the very first time, and with them, they brought instructions to go forth and make themselves a home on this planet. And this instruction, this blueprint if you will, has been with you all along through the ages, and it has been biding its time, waiting for you to find a way to find your way to the very core of your being. For when you did, you would enable the last stage of this whole plan to come to fruition, and now, you all stand before this very last stage of this evolvement. For even if mankind's journey has been one that has taken many a detour on its way, you have not lost that inner spark, the one that has kept you going despite all of the obstacles you have encountered. And they have been many indeed, not least in the form of those beings who more or less hijacked you all and sent you all wildly flying into a dark abyss of despair, where it looked as if you would all get completely lost. But you did not, for that inner spark, that part of you that is also a part of God, has been there all the time, keeping the fire burning, even when it looked as if every single spark of light was extinguished for good. But it was there all along, tended carefully by people who knew of it, people who kept themselves off in the shadows, so that those representing an ever darker part of creation could not see them. And there they waited, and there they kept tenderly blowing on the small ember that they managed to keep going, century after century, while in the rest of the world, mankind slowly but surely succumbed to the idea that the light within them was a thing of the past. Indeed, this extinguishing of memory was so total, it left no open doors at all to that place within, that the small, flickering light still hid out, and so, the remembrance of your inheritance, your part of God, was forgotten and lay dormant in the vast majority of mankind for eons. But now, that flame is blazing again, and that is because you are amongst those first brave pioneers who dared to venture behind these hidden doors once again. And what you found there, is what has been waiting there for you so patiently, generation after generation, lifetime after lifetime. For within you all, even within those representatives of mankind that you look upon as the darkest creatures of all, glows that same spark, that same little piece of God that everything in creation has in common. For you are all chips of the same block as the rest of us, for we all share the same ancestry, and we all come from that same infinite ocean of energetic potential, that ocean that is set into being by the consciousness you are also a part of. For there is no division, there is no them and us. There is only we, now and forever. And even if you do find yourself categorizing beings into all kinds of shades from black to white and every stage in between, know that no matter the appearance, whether that be on the outside or judged by their actions, it all stems from that same single source. And that source is the source of light. We know this is apt to cause a lot of confusion, and given the history of man, it is not difficult to understand. For you have been living out a long and complicated history under the thumb of beings that you will have a hard time finding any light in at all, but know that it is there. But theirs has been a journey that has taken them even further out from source, and so, their actions have been governed by that. But know also, that no matter how far out into the fringes anyone ventures, whether as a single entity or indeed as a whole constellation, they still adhere to the same rules as everyone else. For what is the basic principle in all of creation, is the interaction between energy and consciousness, and remember, consciousness has been set into action in ways that have been devised in order to create it all. And so, what may look as the grossest of imbalance is there with a purpose in mind, namely to create the new. And so too, it has been with mankind. For if you had not been taken under the wings of the creatures that took upon them to recreate what had been created as a grand school in the first place, your place in history would not be the same. For if you had not been under the kind of mismanagement by outside forces that you have had to suffer for so long, this planet would not be in that dire situation you see today. And so, your role as the pioneers, the ones that are about to complete a turnaround the likes have never before been seen anywhere in creation, this role would not have been called for. So again we say, know that all is well, and know that everything that has happened to get you to where you are today has happened for a reason. And we are not just referring to your own personal journey. We are referring to everything that has taken place. And yes, we are well aware that these words will cause an uproar in some of you, and rightly so, for you look upon yourselves as the carriers of the light, the righters of the wrong, and you feel your mission is a mission with a higher purpose than merely a personal quest for freedom. And so it is, in every sense of the word. For you are all that, and more, for what you do, as we have told you on numerous occasions, you do on behalf of all of creation. And you do it because someone took upon them the roles as deactivators of the light on this planet, and they did so because they looked upon that as their personal right. They took what they could take, because they felt the urge to do so, and on the way, they enslaved a multitude of people and put them under a yoke that kept them sinking ever deeper into a morass of forgetfulness, fear and disempowerment. So to all sense and purposes, they created you, and so you stand here today, looking out at something that has come about because someone else created from the same urge you feel today. But to them, the purpose was the exact opposite. We know these words will make many a head spin, but we also know that these words will make the penny drop, as the saying goes, for others. And please forgive us our somewhat unorthodox choice of words, for we do not take this lightly in any way. We are simply trying to help you to see the big picture here, and that big picture is perhaps infinitely more complex than you think you can even try to wrap your head around, but it is also infinitely more simple and extremely clear-cut. For in order to see the light, the darkness will always have to be present in some form, and in order to create, you need friction. And so it is, and so it has always been. On this planet, planet Earth, the friction has been such, it has created something that is not like anything anywhere else, and as such, the lessons have been learned again and again. But now, the time for a radical change is due, and the reason for this is that there is indeed a time and place for everything, but not haphazardly. And so, what has been shifted to a gross degree in one direction, must be shifted back in the opposite direction, and so, the time for the light to re-enter all of the great halls of your planet has come. This shift has been a long time coming, and, as you all know, it was with you even before you came into being here on this little blue planet. Not only this time around, but before you even remember coming into being here at all. And so, you have been brought in to fan the flames again, not only within yourself, but within enough of your fellow men to ensure that this shift really comes into being. And with it, you have been given the task of literally rewriting your own history. For mankind has a hard time seeing beyond the actions, and so, you keep lists detailing the good and the bad, and there is no way for you to overlook the distinction between them. But that is what you will have to remember, for again, this is not news to any of you, but it is simply something you have been programmed to forget the moment you stepped away from the complete version of you, and stepped into that container carrying the name of human. And so, you spend much of your time putting everything you encounter in one container or another, each coming with a neat label of positive or negative, good or bad, them or us. And so, you keep dividing everything up into more and more fragments, all in a grand effort to keep forgetting even more of who you really are. For remember, everything is the same, as everything comes from the same source, and even if it may look, taste, feel, act or behave differently, it all comes back to the same, it all comes back to one. And so do you, for you are no less God than anything or anyone you would define with such a description, so you are neither more nor less than anything nor anyone in all of creation. This is the simple lesson you need to take to heart, for this is the one answer that will answer every single question you will still have. You are one single part of that grand total of one. You may feel separate, but that is simply because you have been taught to forget. But now, you have been told to remember again, and when you do, it will all fall into place, and there will be no one nor no thing that does not fit into that great, grand picture of you anymore. Nor will there be for everything else in existence, for this too, is part of you, just as you are a part of it. And so, We thank you, on behalf of us all, for doing what you do. For you do what no one has done before, and as such, you are making us all into an even greater version of us, for you are making this one into an even wiser one. The Constant Companions. Channeled by Asia North. asianorth.wordpress.com